On our anniversary, I found out my wife had a secret apartment. There was someone else living there. The worst part? She planned it all before we even met. My name's Luca. I'm 35 and have been married to Alice for 5 years. We always felt solid, like we trusted each other completely. Lately, though, she started acting different. She'd hide her phone or leave it face down. Sometimes she'd go out and not say where or when she'd be back. I told myself it was just work stress or something small. I didn't want to doubt her. We still had our routines, but there was this quiet distance I couldn't ignore. Then came our anniversary dinner. I thought it would be a good night, just us. But that night, something shifted, and I couldn't put it back together. We were at that Italian place we'd been meaning to try for months. The kind of small, cozy spot with dim lights and loud chatter from other tables. I was already halfway through my pasta when I felt the sudden need to get up. Not because I wasn't enjoying the night. I was, but I needed a quick break. I told Alice I'd be right back and slid out of the booth. The bathroom was just around the corner. When I came back, I saw her hunched over her phone, typing like she was trying to finish something fast. It wasn't like her to be so glued to her screen when we were out. Usually, she puts her phone away, tries to focus on me. I stood there for a second, watching her fingers tap away. Then she got up, stepped about 10 feet away to take a call. That's when I saw it. Her phone left unlocked, screen lit up. My eyes caught a message, clear as day. The apartment is ready for tomorrow, love. My heart stopped for a split second. I blinked, looked again. I didn't want to believe what I saw. Love wasn't a word she used for me like that, at least not in messages. Not casually. And the apartment made no sense. We never talked about moving anywhere new, never mentioned an apartment. I felt this cold wave hit my chest, like the air disappeared for a moment. I wanted to grab the phone, but I stopped myself. Instead, I leaned a little closer, trying to catch more of the conversation. She was still on the call, voice low, but I could hear a few words. Nothing I could make out completely, just bits that didn't fit with what I thought I knew. She ended the call, walked back to the table. I looked down at the phone, still unlocked. My hand itched to see more, but I didn't. I put my eyes back on her, trying to act normal. Everything okay? I asked, voice steady. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Too forced. Yeah, just some work stuff, she said, sitting down. I nodded, but inside I was spinning. Work stuff didn't explain the message. That word love stuck in my head. Like a label I wasn't supposed to see, a secret I wasn't meant to know. We ate the rest of the dinner, but I barely tasted anything. I kept stealing glances at her phone, which she now held tight in her hand. My mind raced with questions. Who was this other person? Why was she texting about an apartment? Why did she call them love? I wanted to ask, but the words caught in my throat. What if I was reading it wrong? What if I was paranoid? But the doubt didn't quiet down. It only grew. After a while, I excused myself again, this time to clear my head outside. The cold air hit me, but inside I was burning. I pulled my jacket tighter, trying to shake off the feeling. I thought maybe I should just confront her, demand the truth. But I wasn't ready. Not now. Not when the night still felt fragile. So I came back inside, sat down across from her, and smiled. But the smile was empty, because I knew something had shifted, and I didn't know if we could go back to how things were. I looked at her phone one last time before she locked it, a silent question hanging between us. I thought it was over, but the silence that followed said otherwise. We got home in silence. The car was too quiet. I still had my phone in my hand, the message open on the screen. I couldn't let it go. I needed to know. I looked at Alice and said, "Who is this love you were talking about?" My voice was steady, but I felt my hands shake a little. I showed her the message. She looked away for a moment, then back at me. "It's just a friend helping me with work," she said quickly. But something in her eyes didn't match the words. She was trying to sound calm, but she wasn't. I didn't believe her. "In the apartment?" I pushed, trying to keep my voice even. "You said you were at some apartment. What's that about?" Alice blinked. She hesitated, like she was trying to decide what to say. Then she said, "It's just a work project. Nothing more." But she didn't look at me when she said it. She stared at the floor, then at the wall behind me. The room felt smaller. The air was thick. I wanted to ask more, but I also wanted to stop before I said something I'd regret. The tension between us was heavy. I could feel it in her body too, stiff and tight. I tried to keep my voice calm. "You know, I'm not asking because I want to start a fight. I just want the truth." She swallowed hard. "I'm telling you the truth," she said, but it didn't sound true. I watched her face closely. Her eyes were glossy, almost like she was holding back tears. But she didn't look like someone who was innocent in this. I felt a mix of anger and sadness wash over me. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I just stood there, waiting for her to say something more. She finally met my eyes for a second, then looked away again. "I didn't want you to find out like this," she whispered. That hit me harder than anything. How long had she been hiding this? Why didn't she tell me? I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "Alice, if there's something going on, I need to know. I can handle it. But I can't if you keep lying." She looked down again. "I'm not lying," she said softly. "I just didn't want to hurt you." I shook my head. "You're hurting me more by hiding it." The silence stretched between us. It wasn't peaceful. It was full of things unsaid, questions hanging in the air. I wanted to believe her, but I didn't know how anymore. She moved closer. "Please, don't make this harder than it needs to be," she said. Her voice was quiet but firm. I stepped back a little. "I'm not trying to make it hard. I just want the truth." Her eyes filled with tears then, but she blinked them away. "There's nothing more," she said again. "I promise." I wanted to believe her promise, but every part of me stayed on guard. We stood there for a moment, both of us caught between what was real and what we wanted to believe. I thought it was over, but the silence that followed said otherwise. I sat there, stunned, the silence stretching between us like something too heavy to move. Alice looked at me, her eyes searching mine, like she was begging me to understand before I could even speak. Finally, she broke the quiet. "It's not what you think," she said. Her voice was low, tense. "Marco, my colleague, he's actually Marta." I blinked, trying to process what she just said. "Wait, what?" She swallowed hard, then kept going. "I lied because I knew how you would react if I told you the truth. I was scared. I didn't want to lose you." My mind was racing, but my mouth wouldn't work. Marta wasn't just someone she worked with or hung out with. She was the person Alice had been hiding from me all along. The one she shared that apartment with. The one I thought was just a friend. I couldn't speak. I just stared at her, heart pounding, the room suddenly feeling too small. "And the apartment?" I finally asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "The one you said was yours?" Alice nodded, biting her lip. "It's ours. We started seeing each other before we even met." That hit me like a punch. I sat back, my hands on my knees, trying to stop them from shaking. She had been living this double life, and I had no idea. They were together long before I even knew Alice existed. She'd kept it all from me, every detail, every moment. I felt a bitter taste in my mouth. Not just because she lied, but because I had been so blind. I thought I knew her. I thought what we had was real. But now, it felt like a lie wrapped in more lies. I looked at her again, trying to find some kind of explanation, some reason why she kept this from me for so long. Why didn't she just tell me? Why did she think hiding it was better? Alice's eyes filled with tears. "I was afraid. I didn't want to hurt you. I wanted to figure things out first. I didn't know how to say it." Her voice cracked, and for a moment, I saw the person I loved beneath the mess. But that didn't make the truth any easier to swallow. I swallowed hard, trying to control the anger and the hurt. "So, what am I supposed to do now? You've been with Marta this whole time. And I was just what?" "A lot." "That's not fair," Alice said quickly. "You know how much I care about you. This isn't about replacing you." I shook my head. "Then what is it about, Alice? What am I supposed to be in all this?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked down at her hands, twisting them nervously. "I don't know. I'm sorry. I really am." Her apology didn't fix anything. It just made the silence heavier. I felt like the ground had shifted beneath me. Everything I believed was suddenly uncertain. I wanted to understand, but the betrayal was sharp, and the waiting for answers was worse. Alice's words kept echoing in my head. We started seeing each other before we even met. That meant everything I thought was new and real was already complicated. There was no clean break, no fresh start. Just a tangled mess I was standing in the middle of, trying to figure out where I fit, or if I fit at all. I looked back at her, the anger softening into something quieter, but just as painful. "Why didn't you trust me enough to tell me?" She shook her head, eyes wet. "Because I thought you'd hate me. Because I didn't want to lose you." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe any of it. But I was too tired to fight for trust that felt broken. I sat there, the weight of it all pressing down. My throat was tight, and my hands fidgeted with the edge of my shirt. The room felt colder, and the sound of my own breathing was loud in my ears. I thought it was over, but the silence that followed said otherwise. I didn't know what to do after I left. The house felt suffocating, like the walls had shrunk around me. I grabbed my keys and just walked out. I didn't have a plan, but I knew I needed to get somewhere else, somewhere familiar. I ended up at my brother's place. It was late at night, and when he opened the door, I could barely get the words out. "I can't believe it," I said, voice shaking more than I wanted to admit. I went inside and sat down, still trying to catch my breath. He didn't say much at first, just looked at me, waiting. I told him everything, from the moment I saw the messages to the way she looked at me when I confronted her. I told him how it felt like the ground disappeared beneath me. He listened quietly, not interrupting, not judging, just there. And that made it harder in a way, because when someone just listens, you have to say the things you're scared to say even to yourself. "I thought I knew her," I said, voice barely above a whisper. "I thought we were solid." He nodded slowly. "People can hide a lot," he said, "but you need to figure out what this really means for you. How deep this runs." I looked at him, confused and tired. "What do you mean?" He took a breath. "Not just that she lied. You need to see if there's more." "How long? What?" His eyes didn't judge me or her, just held me steady. "You can't make decisions now. You need to stay calm. Get clear." I wanted to argue, wanted to yell that calm was impossible. But the truth was, he was right. I was too raw, too angry. I needed to hold myself together before I could even think about what to do next. We sat in silence for a while. I felt the weight of everything pressing on me, but also the strange relief of not being alone. I could tell he wanted to say more, but he waited, maybe to let me find my own way through it. "I don't know how to trust her again," I finally said, voice cracking. "Or if I even want to." He didn't answer right away. Then he said quietly, "That's up to you. But don't rush it. Don't let anger make the decisions." I nodded, but my mind was spinning. I wanted answers. I wanted the pain to stop. But mostly, I wanted to understand how someone I loved could keep something so big from me. The silence between us felt heavy, like it was waiting for something to break. I thought that was it, that I had reached the bottom and could start climbing out. But the quiet in the room told me otherwise. It wasn't over, not by a long shot. I woke up the next morning with a dull ache in my chest, the kind you get when your mind won't stop turning over the same thing. Marta was still asleep beside me, and I didn't want to wake her. But I needed to know more, needed to understand how deep this went. I kept thinking about last night, about that look she gave me. There was something I was missing, something big. I decided to check the mail. I wasn't really expecting anything, but I needed some distraction. That's when I saw the bank statement addressed to both Marta and Alice. I stared at it for a long time before I even opened it. A joint account. For the apartment. It wasn't just a shared expense or a casual thing. They had a real financial connection. It hit me hard. This wasn't some fling that happened behind my back. This was planned. They were together in a way that mattered beyond just sleeping together. I didn't know how to feel. Anger? Betrayal? Confusion? All mixed up, but mostly just numb. I sat down with the statement on the kitchen counter. The account showed payments for rent, utilities, groceries, things that made it clear they were living as a couple. I tried to imagine how long this had been going on. I kept wondering why no one told me. Later that day, I called a mutual friend, Jake. I needed to hear it from someone else. I asked him directly if he knew about Marta and Alice. His pause said everything before he finally answered. "Yeah, man. Everyone knows. Everyone knows." That phrase stuck with me. Everyone knew, except me. I asked him why no one said anything. He said it wasn't his place to get involved. He thought I'd figure it out eventually. I wanted to scream at him, but instead, I just stayed quiet. I thought about how often I'd seen Alice around. At parties, at the grocery store, even at our favorite coffee shop. People smiled when they saw them together. I never caught the signs, or maybe I chose not to. Either way, it felt like I was the only one living in the dark. I went back to the apartment, pacing the living room floor. When Marta came out of the bedroom, I just looked at her without saying a word. The silence stretched between us, heavy and full. She avoided my eyes. I wanted to ask her everything, but the words wouldn't come out. Instead, I just held the bank statement in my hand. It felt like proof that everything I thought I knew was wrong. I wasn't sure if I wanted to burn it or keep it as a reminder. That night, I lay awake again, thinking about how people had been pretending like I didn't matter. I thought about confronting Marta, but I didn't know where to start. The truth was out there, but it felt like a trap. I thought it was over, but the silence that followed said otherwise. I didn't want to wait any longer. After days of going over everything in my head, I finally called a lawyer. I remember sitting at the kitchen table, phone in hand, heart pounding like I was about to run a race. My voice felt strange, stiff even, when I said, I need to discuss a divorce. It wasn't really a question for me anymore. I just needed to hear the steps, the rules, what came next. The lawyer asked some standard questions, and I answered without hesitation. It was like I had rehearsed this moment 100 times, but saying it out loud still made it feel real. I told myself this was the right choice. I had to stop pretending things could go back to how they were. I wasn't sure when the last time was that I felt safe or needed in that house. Calling the lawyer felt like admitting defeat, but also like taking control. After that call, I started looking for a new place. I didn't want to stay where I was, surrounded by memories that didn't fit anymore. I spent hours scrolling through listings on my phone, marking the ones that felt okay. Nothing fancy, just somewhere I could breathe. I thought about the kind of home I wanted, one that belonged only to me, even if it was small or messy at first. It felt strange imagining packing and leaving, but also a little hopeful. The hardest part was gathering my things. I started with the small stuff, books, clothes, my laptop. I packed carefully, folding shirts the way I liked, stacking papers I didn't want to lose. Every item I touched brought back a flash of something. A quiet night reading, a fight we'd had, a laugh shared over coffee. I kept my voice low, trying not to let those memories slip into my mind too much. I just focused on the task, box by box, drawer by drawer. When I packed the photos, I hesitated. Pictures of us smiling, holding hands, traveling somewhere sunny. I didn't take all of them. Some stayed on the wall, the ones that felt less painful. I didn't want to erase the past completely, just the parts that kept me stuck. I promised myself I'd deal with those later. For now, I needed to move forward. Alice noticed I was packing. She didn't say much at first, just watched from the doorway. I caught her eyes once, and there was something there, maybe sadness or regret. I didn't know how to reach her, or if I even wanted to. The silence between us grew heavier, but I kept going. I told her flat out, I'm leaving. I've already talked to a lawyer. I wasn't yelling, just stating a fact. She didn't respond right away. Then she said, Are you sure you want to do this? Her voice cracked a little. I nodded. I didn't want to get into it, didn't want to start another argument. I was tired of arguing. I just wanted a way out. I wanted to feel like I belonged somewhere again. That night, I sat in the dark of our living room with a box of my things. The house felt empty, even though Alice was still there. I thought about the future, a new apartment, maybe a new neighborhood. It felt like stepping into the unknown, and part of me was scared, but another part was ready. Ready to stop pretending, ready to live for myself. I thought that once I started this, things would get easier, that the silence between us would finally break. But the quiet that followed wasn't relief. It was heavier, like the calm before a storm. I knew this wasn't the end. Not yet. Something was still coming, something I couldn't see. The real fight was just beginning. I walked back into our home with the divorce papers folded in my hand. The house smelled the same, but everything felt heavier. I found Alice sitting on the couch, scrolling on her phone like nothing was wrong. I hated how calm she looked. I cleared my throat and held out the papers. It's over, I said, voice steady but cold. She glanced up, eyes widening for a second before she put the phone down. What is this? She asked, trying to keep her voice even. It's the divorce papers, I said. I signed them this morning. She blinked, like she couldn't believe I was serious. I kept my eyes on her, waiting for something, maybe an apology, or anger, or even tears. But there was nothing. Alice leaned forward, her hands fidgeting. Look, I know things have been rough, but I wasn't trying to hurt you. It's just, Marta means something to me. Her voice cracked at the end, but I didn't let it change me. I don't want to hear it, I said. I've heard every excuse before. I thought maybe we could work through it. But I don't deserve this. I deserve better. My throat tightened, but I forced myself to keep calm. She stood up, took a step closer. Please, can we talk? Just one last time. Her eyes searched mine, and for a moment, I almost wanted to say yes. But the memory of all the nights I spent alone, the lies, the cold silences, stopped me. No, I said quietly. There's nothing left to say. I put the papers on the coffee table and walked toward the kitchen. I grabbed the keys from the counter where I'd left them that morning. I could feel her watching me, waiting. I set the keys down on the table in front of her. She looked at them, then back at me. You're really leaving, she whispered. I nodded once, then turned away. I didn't look back as I walked to the door. My hand trembled for a second as I reached for the handle. The silence filled the room like a weight. I wanted to say something else, anything else, but the words got stuck. I stepped outside, the door clicking shut behind me. The cool air hit my face, and for the first time in months, I felt a strange kind of relief. But it wasn't the relief I expected. It was quieter, sadder. I thought it was over. But the silence that followed said otherwise. It's been about a month since I moved into this small apartment downtown. The place isn't much, just one bedroom, a tiny kitchen, and a living room that barely fits my couch. But it's mine, and that feels both strange and necessary. I started the divorce papers last week. I haven't told Alice. I haven't called her or replied to her messages. I guess cutting contact was the only way I could figure out how to breathe again. Some days are easier than others. I wake up and make coffee without thinking about what she might be doing. I don't check my phone for texts or missed calls from her. It's quiet here, and that quiet is something I'm still learning to live with. Sometimes I catch myself wanting to reach out, to say something, anything. But then I remember how I felt the last time we talked, and I stop myself. I joined a support group last week. It's for people who've been betrayed in relationships. I wasn't sure about it at first. I didn't want to sit around and rehash all the bad stuff. But when I walked in, I saw people who looked tired and broken in the same way I felt. Nobody pretended it was easy. Nobody tried to sugarcoat what they were going through. That honesty was something I hadn't expected. At the first meeting, we went around the circle and shared a little about ourselves. I kept my story short, mostly facts. I told them I was separated, going through a divorce, and that my wife had been unfaithful. I said it without crying, but my voice cracked a little. People nodded, some offered quiet words. One woman said, "You're not alone." It was simple, but hearing it felt like a small lifeline. Since then, I've started going regularly. Sometimes we talk about anger, sometimes about trusting again. There's no pressure to fix anything overnight. Just space to say what you feel and have it heard. I've found that even listening to others helps. Their stories remind me that I'm not the only one trying to pick up the pieces. I'm trying to rebuild my routine too. I cook more than I used to, mostly simple meals. I go for walks in the park nearby, even when I don't feel like it. I'm trying to keep busy, but not so busy that I ignore how I feel. Some nights I lie awake thinking about all the plans we had, all the things that are now just memories. Other nights I sleep better than I have in months. I haven't talked to Alice at all. I deleted her number. When I see couples holding hands or laughing together, it stings, but I remind myself that my life is different now. I'm learning what it means to be on my own again. It's scary and lonely, but also a chance to figure out who I am without her. Sometimes I catch myself wondering if she misses me, if she regrets what happened. But those thoughts don't stay long. They don't help me. I focus instead on what I can control, my own healing. It's slow and messy, but it's mine. Last night, after the meeting, I stayed late and talked with a few people. We shared tips on dealing with trust and how to handle the loneliness. One guy said, "It's like your world breaks, but you have to build something out of the rubble." That image stuck with me. I don't know what my new world looks like yet, but I'm starting to see the outlines. I haven't told many people about the support group. It feels private, like admitting I'm still fragile. But maybe that's okay. Maybe being honest about that is part of getting better. I'm not pretending I'm fine, even if I'm trying to hold it together. Some nights I still think about calling Alice. But then I remember the silence that followed her last betrayal. The distance that grew between us until there was nothing left but cold quiet. I don't want to go back there. So I'm here, in this small apartment, trying to find my way forward. I keep going to the meetings. I keep walking in the park. I keep cooking meals for one. It's not the life I imagined, but it's the one I have now. And for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm starting to live it on my own terms. I thought cutting ties would be the hardest part, but the silence that follows says otherwise. It's been 6 weeks since Alice and I split. I moved into a small studio not far from our old place. It's quiet here. I'm not rushing anything. Not friendships. Not trust. I'm learning to be careful again, to let people in bit by bit, not all at once. I check myself before I open up. Alice is living with Marta now. I know that, but honestly, it doesn't bother me like it used to. I used to replay every detail, every mistake, but now I just let it go. It's like I finally figured out that trust isn't something you give away like candy. It's earned, and I'm done handing it out without thinking. Most days, I focus on me. I'm figuring out who I am outside of us. It's strange and sometimes lonely, but it's necessary. I'm taking it slow, just one day at a time. Some days are easier, some harder, but I'm here. I'm moving forward. I don't know what the future holds with Alice or Marta. Maybe nothing. Maybe someday we'll cross paths again. But right now, I'm okay with not knowing. The silence between us isn't heavy anymore. It's just empty space where I'm learning to breathe again. I thought I'd be broken forever. Turns out, I'm just quiet for now. If you're going through something like this, just know you deserve honesty and respect. It's hard to see the signs when you're close to someone, but don't ignore the feeling when something feels off. Facing it takes a kind of courage I didn't have at first. I kept hoping things would fix themselves, but they didn't. Trust isn't something you can just patch up overnight, and that's okay. It takes time, and sometimes a lot of it. You might feel broken or lost, but that doesn't mean you're weak. Being patient with yourself is important, even when it's frustrating. Healing doesn't look the same for everyone, and you have to find your own way through it. Don't let anyone make you feel like you have to settle for less than you deserve. You're allowed to want the truth, even if it hurts. You're allowed to step back and figure out what you need. And you're allowed to put yourself first. It's not selfish, it's necessary. If you're still tangled in that mess, try to find moments where you can breathe and just be with yourself. It's okay to ask for help, too. Talking to someone who listens without judgment makes a difference. I'm still figuring this out, but I'm slowly learning that I'm worth that kind of care and respect. You're not alone, even if it feels that way. And someday, you'll look back and see how far you've come, even if you don't see it now. Just keep moving forward, one quiet step at a time.